All right, welcome back to your next episode of dot.LA Dives In. I'm Kelly O'Grady, dot.LA's chief host and correspondent, and today I'm joined by Anna Barber, the managing director of Techstars L.A. Anna, I just have to say I've admired you for quite a long time and have been hoping to interview you, so I am super excited for this. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Kelly. It's such an honor to be one of your first guests, and I'm excited to talk to you.
And I love your background. It's really making me feel like I need to just step up this in the background.
I feel very
Okay.
official right now. You can't see the stacks of board games behind me.
You'd never know. That's the beauty of working from home. Okay, so to set the stage, Techstars LA 2020 class was just announced. So it's 10 companies, 9 that include women, Black, or Latinx founders. It's an incredibly diverse bunch, focusing on everything from teletherapy to esports analytics. They're about to embark on 3 months of very intense mentorship, culminating in Demo Day in October. But let's acknowledge the elephant in the virtual room. Sorry for my bad pun, but I kind of had to. This is all going to happen for the first time during a pandemic. Everything is going to be remote. So first question, when you were considering how to tackle a remote Techstars experience, what were the key components necessary to making that successful from your perspective?
Yeah, so it's a great question, Kelly. So this is the 4th program I've run, but it's the first program I've run during a pandemic. So the first 3 Techstars LA classes all took place at our office, which is on Wilshire. And a big part of the program is the connections and the community that happen because we're all working in the same space. So when we realized, which by the way was really after we had already started selecting the class, which happened earlier in the spring, that we were going to be doing this virtual. I would describe it as kind of building the plane while you fly it a little bit. We do luckily have some experience in this area. Techstars is a global accelerator. We have 47 programs running around the world, and we've had one that's all virtual for a few years now. So we had some precedents. But essentially what we're trying to do is bring that community and that connection, and then all the learning and the value of mentorship and network, and just do it in a virtual environment with the same level of effectiveness.
Yeah, I mean, that is absolutely crazy to just have to pivot already when you were reviewing applications. So I actually was recently chatting with some of the founders in the class, and I was blown away at just how intense this 3 months of mentoring is. So I'd love for you to walk us through kind of what a day in the life of the Techstars Accelerator might look like.
Absolutely. So Techstars was founded in 2006, and the first program ran in Boulder, Colorado in 2007. So we've now done this over 200 times. So we've iterated on it quite a bit, and we have a really good sense of what works and what's most effective for helping companies make progress in a short time period. So the program's roughly divided into 3 parts, and the first part we call Mentor Madness, and it's where we connect the founders with mentors for 20-minute meetings, and founders typically do between 50 and 80 of these meetings, which sounds like a lot, and does engender fatigue and can cause burnout. The value of that is, first of all, it massively increases your network in a short period of time. Second, gives you a whole new group of people that are there to give you advice and make connections for you and want to support and contribute to your success. And then third, gives you a whole bunch of feedback on what you're doing, a lot of data points all at once, and that you can then take those data points in to kind of recraft your strategy or perhaps pivot. So then you go into the second phase of the program, which is all about execution and growth, and taking that learning and using it to drive progress and growth in the business, to really set yourself up for a strong foundation. And then finally, probably my favorite activity and favorite part of the program is storytelling. Is communicating what you're about in a really powerful way, and getting set up either to go sell, create valuable partnerships, or in a lot of cases, go to raise a seed round at the end of the program. We wrap it up with a kind of capstone event, which is usually a big live demo day. It will not be a big live demo day this year. It'll be an online demo day, hosted on techstars.com, and we hope to do a live event around that as well, perhaps in partnership with dot.LA.
Well, we love to hear that. That would be amazing. But yeah, that mentor madness piece sounds maddening, but also incredibly fruitful with all of those, those different relationships that you're able to connect. But I'm curious, you say a huge part of this is relationship building, being also specifically in LA, right? This is a networking town. How are you going about trying to build these really authentic relationships? Because I mean, you and I were having a conversation on Zoom here, and yeah, we can get to know each other, but it's very different than being in the same room, being able to go over and just kind of grab coffee, those serendipitous moments. So I'm curious how you're getting at that aspect for the Techstars participants.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll answer it two ways. One is kind of the tools and platforms that we're using, which is kind of the container we're creating. So we're using something called Sococo, which is kind of a drop-in virtual office where we physically will just be hanging out. And that's meant to be a place where people can just grab you for a one-on-one conversation, to sort of mimic that feeling of being in the office and just, having a quick chat or coffee. We're very active on Slack. We use Zoom. So, we're using a suite of tools to allow people to talk and connect to each other. But I would say, like, on a deeper level, it's kind of modeling like we do in the program, but really trying to bring this to the virtual world. Like, what does it mean to show up and be authentic? So like, I try to model that for the teams by, one of the things I do is I tell my founder story, which isn't all sort of full of a skyrocketing ship of success. And, I tell the real story and all the mistakes I made and kind of model what does it mean to be authentic, and allow people to kind of see the cracks, and then, encourage other people to do that too. Like, one of the things I say at the beginning of the program is, like, no one's crushing it. Like, don't come in here and say you're crushing it, because this is hard. Like, we're going to struggle, and that's where the connections come in.
I really appreciate that you share your story, because I mean, I don't know about you, but all the failures in my life are when I learned the most. And I think it is accepting those moments and really saying, okay, maybe it wasn't a failure, but it was a learning moment, and sharing that with folks that are going through this is probably really powerful and kind of puts everyone at ease. One question that I have for you, you mentioned that everyone that's coming into this, no one's crushing it, right? Everyone's trying to spin this up. Do your participants come in at different levels of starting a company, or are they kind of all at the same point in their respective journeys as founders?
Yeah, I think they're all in a really different place in terms of kind of what they're looking to learn and what they most need to work on. But in general, these are, pre-seed to seed stage companies. They probably raised a little money. They have revenue. They have customers. So it's really hard to do Techstars if you're totally pre-launch, because there's nothing to iterate on and learn from. You're kind of trying to learn in a vacuum, which is very hard. And it's also harder for companies to really access the program if they already know what the market they're in, what product they're selling, and how they're selling it. And all they need to do is add water and grow. Those companies, aren't interested in the learning. They just want to be left alone to grow. So it's not a good place for them. It's kind of right in between there, where they have a little bit of traction, but have some really big questions still left to answer, that when those are answered, they'll be ready to step on the gas.
Well, I'd love to dig into that iteration piece a little bit more. Do you have any specific stories of kind of a before and after of a company that you've seen just transform dramatically?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I'll tell a really fun one, which is the story of Blue Fever, which is in the first class, 2017 class, LA team. And when they came in, their tagline was Netflix for millennial women. So what they were building was an OTR video, video destination site with a specific target market. Now, when they came out of Techstars, they were an artificial intelligence, empathetic friend that texts with Gen Z girls. Wow. So completely different. Yeah. And not only that, they arrived at that pivot during the program, and then about midway through the program, and this was many years ago, so keep in mind they're way beyond this now, I said, okay, let's see if you can get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the program. And they both sort of looked at me like, that is not achievable. And I will tell you that through learning and iteration, they were able to achieve that number the day before demo day. So not only did they take a pivot, but then they actually kind of were able to dig in and grow and grow their user base. It was really exciting to watch.
Yeah, that's an incredible story, not only to change so much in terms of what your focus is, but also to be so successful in such a short period of time. I mean, I guess it goes back to the intense mentoring, all of the iteration, and that environment for learning that you're really creating there. Very cool. I can't wait to see what happens with the before and afters of this Techstars class.
Yeah, that's always how I feel too.
Well, okay, so the founders go through this program. There's so much change, so much transformation. We could maybe at dot.LA we'll do like a before and after for our Instagram feed, but like textile. um, but they presented demo day. So what comes after, right? Like what are some of the possible paths of founders that come out of the accelerator? I imagine a lot are looking to raise money, but just kind of what are some of the things that you've seen out of companies that have gone through the program?
Yeah, so a lot are looking to raise money, and typically they do. Most of the companies that have come through the program raise a seed round after the program. And mostly they do that because they need the capital to grow. I think, fundraising, I like to say like fundraising is not a milestone. It's just a means to an end. So if you need capital to grow, it's great to be able to do that. So a lot of them are able to do that, which is great because it gives them more ability to continue to grow and scale. We also have companies that, don't want to take that route. Last year we had Fly by Jing, the founder Jing Gao. She was already running a profitable business, very successful high margin business. Her main product is Sichuan chili crisp, which has taken the culinary world by storm. And she did not want to raise venture, and she didn't need to because she's running a profitable business. So it was really more about getting aligned on what strategy she wanted to pursue and like how she should look for growth, as opposed to setting up for a fundraise.
That's actually a really interesting perspective to bring into the conversation, because I think so many times you hear founders focusing on, okay, like I need to raise money, I need to raise capital. I think that's a really refreshing perspective of it should be a means to an end.
And also the flip side is fundraising is a result of building a strong foundation of your business. So the reason people are successful fundraising, or if they're successful fundraising coming out of the program is because they do the work of kind of understanding the drivers of their business and moving them so that investors can see that they're building on a strong foundation, and therefore their business becomes investable. It's not because they build a fancy PowerPoint or they rehearse their pitch a lot. It's because they did the work to build the business that then becomes an exciting investment opportunity, right? So all of these founders, look, they're here because they're capable. They're here because I think they're exciting leaders, because I'm inspired by their vision. All these founders are in this program because I would personally be willing to go work for their company, right? And I think they're going to build something huge and do something amazing in the world. So I have a tremendous amount of faith and confidence in each of them and in these teams to kind of lead and bring their visions to life. We just want to be a catalyst and a supporter and part of that journey.
Well done, Anna. You actually took us without even knowing where I wanted to go with the next part of the interview. It's so well choreographed. So, you said that all of these founders are here because you would, in theory, want to go work for their company. You're working with startups constantly, not just with Techstars, right? But in your roles at the fund, at Barbershop Consulting, at the USC Marshall Venture Fund, list goes on. I've heard you say in the past that you're a founder-focused investor. So what is it about when you interact with a founder that makes you go, yes, that person has it, this company has it, it's going places, I want to work with this company?
Yeah, it's a great question. it's so much about founder market fit. Like, where are they coming from? Why are they doing this, right? If I can hear that narrative in my mind and I understand why this is so important to them, and I get inspired, then that's kind of the key. That's where it starts for me. So usually there's some kind of personal connection. So Stephanie Canale, the founder of Lactation Lab, she was a medical doctor, and she also had a lot of trouble when she was breastfeeding, and one of her children had failure to thrive, which as a mother is a really scary thing. And so she has a very personal reason for, having founded Lactation Lab. And she is absolutely passionate about other mothers not going through the same thing. That really resonated with me, because what that tells me is she understands the problem deeply from the inside, and also she has the passion and the desire to fight through when it gets hard, which it will definitely get hard, because it always does. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that founder who literally can't be doing anything else because it's impossible, because they can't rest until this thing that they've envisioned exists in the world. So that kind of determination. But then you couple that determination with kind of a really open-minded viewpoint about how you get there, and like a willingness to learn and a willingness to be wrong. It's like Brene Brown says, I'm here to get it right, not to be right, and I think kind of that approach of I'm here to get it right, which means taking feedback from you and everyone around me, as opposed to rigidly approaching, building my business in my own way. I sort of look for that flexible thinking combined with that, internal passion and drive.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, some of the companies that I've seen be the most successful, it's always that something was born out of a problem in their own life. So it's exciting to see, how the current class, which Stephanie's a part of, will take that drive and transform throughout it. Yeah, go ahead.
Be realistic too, because sometimes I feel like I can be a little Pollyanna about these things, or, it has to be a big market. There has to be a venture scale business here. And also you have to have the tools on your team to succeed. So if there's the software company and there's no software people on the team, that's going to be really hard. If you've been at something for 5 years and it hasn't, kind of seemed to gain traction yet, then there's probably something to look at there. Some reason why it's not working, right? So those two things are kind of necessary, but not sufficient to, making a company an exciting opportunity.
It's important context, right? So there needs to be that passion, but also realistically, the tools to make that passion thrive. So zooming out a little bit, I saw that you are a part of the recently founded early stage VC fund called The Fund, which is composed of local founders and operators investing in SoCal, for those that haven't heard about it. I really love the concept behind this because it's so locally focused. And of course at dot.LA, we're all about that. So I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit about what your role is there and what kind of impact the fund is looking to have in the LA tech and startup scene.
Sure. I'm really excited about the fund, and it really aligns with a lot of my personal goals, which are about supporting the growth of LA tech and also investing in and supporting founders from underrepresented backgrounds in tech. So I'm part of the investment committee of the fund, and the fund is composed of LPs who are members, who are founders, local founders and operators who want to invest at scale, in a group and do it locally, supporting other founders in LA. So the ambition of the fund is to back 50 companies in the greater LA area over the next 2 years. We've already made 8 investments. So we're well on our way, and we've mostly raised the fund. So, we're kind of off and running. And my role there is I'm on one of 4 members of the investment committee. So we're the ones who are actually vetting and choosing the investments, with a lot of kind of meaningful support from the member community, because we have members who have all kinds of different backgrounds. And so they're often weighing in on particular companies that fit their background. So that's a great resource, because we have people, to do due diligence and just give us a take on a business. It's not possible for any one of us to know every industry and vertical. And we're hoping to make the fund really vertical agnostic, so we want to be doing consumer and enterprise and deep tech, and choosing companies from, all sectors and also all over LA. It's all totally asynchronous. It's all totally remote. Everyone involved, has something else that they do, full time. So I would say for everybody involved, it's a really fun kind of side hustle. And it's exciting to be doing this at this moment in time because of what I see happening in LA, which I've seen happening, since I started in this world at Techstars, almost 4 years ago now. What's happened in the LA tech scene is just really exciting and, transformational. And I think we're seeing that accelerate with COVID in a way, because I think, this is all anecdotal, but what I'm seeing happen is people going through this calculus of, okay, well, I can work from anywhere. So where do I want to live? And then second, it's a great time to start something because, in a downturn is a great time to launch something new with kind of out all the pressure to grow, and kind of gives you time to build something the right way. Especially if it's something that you think is going to play into a trend about where the world's going. So it might be something about remote work or remote learning or, home entertainment or new ways of social connection. And so when you put all of these trends together, people are saying, I think I'm going to start something new and I'm going to move somewhere to do it. And wouldn't LA be a nice place to live? So, it seems like there are a number of people coming here and setting up shop, which is great. And it's not to say there aren't challenges in LA. I think we have a lot of challenges. I mean, look, we are in a real mess right now, with what's happening in coronavirus. And, we have a lot of work to do in this city to, make it more equitable, bring more opportunity, to people. We obviously are suffering a pretty major, economic challenge right now with the whole entertainment industry being shut down, which so much drives our economy. So again, I don't want to be too rose-colored glasses about it, but I do think from the tech industry perspective, it's a pretty exciting time.
Well, you're absolutely right. There's certainly a lot of challenges facing the city due to the pandemic, challenges that were already here before that, and challenges around diversity, equity, and inclusion that have come to light in the middle of all of this. But I really admire what you're doing at the fund. When I heard about it a couple of months ago, I was like, wow, that is really cool and just so hyper local, that it's really exciting, especially because of everything that's going on. Another question I'd like to ask you is, let's play out 5-10 years down the line. Hopefully Corona is gone. It's a distant memory. We're all back out in the world. It's lovely. What do you see, or maybe the better question is, what do you hope to see in the LA tech and startup scene?
Such a great question. When I think that far down the road, I think about, what's the change I want to see in the world, and how can LA be a leader? So I think a couple of things. I would love to see advances in sustainability, which is, I think, the pressing issue of our time. So clean energy, sustainable cities, the circular economy. I would love to see LA be a leader in high growth companies, solving some of those most important problems, number one. And I would love to see a Los Angeles where we have made meaningful progress on diversity, equity, and inclusion, both on the funding side and on the founding side. I would like to see an LA where, when we're looking out, seeing, let's get a Series A backed founder panel together, that it's just easy to produce a panel with diverse CEOs because there's such diversity, of founders that have gotten to that level, right? And the same thing on partner level in the VC funds. I would love to see the startups distributed throughout the city, rather than being concentrated in sort of Silicon Beach downtown. So when I think about what I want LA to look like, both who's playing the game and kind of where the game is being played, that's what I want to see. And then layer on top of that we're working on things that are helping save our planet. And that's kind of the dream.
Well, you're uniquely positioned to help cultivate that at Techstars LA, and I'm really excited to, hopefully be a part of that future and from my end cover all of those stories that you just mentioned. That would be a very exciting 5 to 10 years to be a part of in this city. Well, listen, Anna, thank you so much for joining me today. I could talk to you for hours. This is a really interesting conversation, but I know you are in the midst of week 1 at Techstars, so you've got a busy, busy week. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing what all of the startups have at Demo Day.
Thanks, Kelly, and thank you for all the great work you're doing at dot.LA, and thanks for having me.
Thank you.